Hi everybody. Today I want to talk about forgiveness. And if you're watching this video and you're in this community, chances are you have heard some talk about forgiving your abuser. So, first of all, I know from firsthand experience that talking about narcissistic abuse, malignant narcissism, all the stuff that we have unfortunately dealt with, talking about that to people who have never been through it is the worst decision that you can make. And unfortunately, it separates us. It separates us from our friends that are alongside us while we're trying to grow, while we're trying to heal. And we want to be understood, so we want to be able to communicate that to the people that we've been friends with, let's say, since high school. The trouble is that nobody gets it. No matter how good of a person that they are, no matter how sweet and loving of a person that they are, they come from a place of, can't you forgive your mother? And when I hear that, it's infuriating. I just so want to say, what if she stuck hot cigarettes in my eyes? What if I was sexually abused? Would you say to me, can you forgive your father for abusing you all the days of your life? Can you forgive your mother for slapping you on the head and blowing out your eardrums so that you can no longer be an effective singer, which was your dream? I mean, you get the picture. And I think that comes from, well, first of all, it comes a lot of times from a Christian perspective. Now, I will avoid conversations about religion. It's, for me, simply put, religion is nothing more than language and an interpretation of that which is so. And I believe in and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a consciousness that's greater than ours. But religion and Christianity and all of that, I liken it nothing more than language. So I'm not a Christian. I used to be a Christian. I have always been a seeker. So when I was 10 years old, I walked into a Baptist church, and I remember the guy going, "Where are your parents?" But I digress. Forgiveness comes, or that request for forgiveness or the conversation about forgiveness, like I said, often comes from someone who has an idea of it being some kind of magic words. And you hear people, Christians on TV, saying, my mother was just murdered and I forgive this man. No, you have made a choice to allow that anger to pass. And that is healthy. But saying I forgive isn't some kind of like, physiological ayahuasca, magic words. When you say those words, what happens next? Okay, well, what does that mean for the cells in your body? What happens then? Okay, so I have forgiven her. Now what? So, I don't need forgiveness to heal. I don't need to, first of all, forgiving her implies that it's not going to happen again. It's like the same thing as someone saying they're sorry to you and then you forgive them. Well, she's not saying she's sorry. She's not asking for forgiveness. She doesn't think that she ever did anything wrong. Empathy, I would have empathy for someone who made a mistake and learned from it. This person never learns from their mistakes, and we know these people, they don't. So, saying that I forgive her is really just an egoic act. And I know that there's going to be people that disagree with this, but if I'm sitting there going, oh, I forgive her, it's really, in so many cases, it's about what other people are seeing you do. And it doesn't have anything to do with you or your healing. And I think that it's a disservice. And I think that what it does is sweep under the rug the reality of the pain and the damage and the trauma that has been put upon us. So to that I say, people who talk about forgiveness in this context, first of all, just don't talk to them. Just don't talk to them. And I want to kind of back up and give an example. I have a very, very dear friend. I love her dearly. She's a good person. She's, been my friend since high school. And through my ups and downs, she's always been there. I think at times, just, it's been mostly me maintaining that. But there's always been this thing that I felt was not understood and that I couldn't talk about. And she's the one who talked about forgiveness and, well, what if she was on her deathbed? Well, I'm not going to be there when she's on her deathbed, and I've already mourned her. So what she does in her life and in her spiritual life has nothing to do with me. And I don't need to hear it. It wouldn't validate me because I know it wouldn't be authentic. She's going to die feeling entitled, and I know that. Anyone that tries to convince you that you should forgive or what about the deathbed or all that just simply does not understand the scope and the reality that people cannot change. They are convinced that with prayer and forgiveness and all that fluffy white clouds, that all will be right again, and it isn't. So don't talk to people that don't understand, first of all. But I'm digressing again. I recently wrote this person a very long letter, and I think that at times I had talked to her about, that my mother's toxic, very high level, but I hadn't really gone into the details of she tried to kill me several times before the age of 3, abuse from day one until the day I left. There's so many things in between there that I hadn't shared with her, and I hadn't really talked to her about my recovery in this community. And it really is recovery in this community because I don't get recovery in other places. This is the place that is driving most of the new directions that I take in finding healing. I wrote her this long letter, and it wasn't a personal attack. It was, I love you very much. I just want you to know that I can't do friendships in the old way. This person, as sweet as they are and as good as they are, even they gaslight. So what prompted this whole letter writing was a conversation that I had with her where she indicated, when I started to try and share with her, and she very, we went on into the conversation, and then she was like, oh, you are the worst at keeping score. That's gaslighting. And it doesn't matter that it's coming from a nice person, and that she's not necessarily being real nasty about it. But it is gaslighting, nonetheless. And it is just a way to disregard everything that you're saying and put a blanket on it that simply isn't true. And in that moment, and this is what is afforded to those people who are looking for healing, and whenever you find it, this is how it looks. In that moment, the old me would have reacted. I would have felt hot. I would have felt anxious. I would have wanted to try and argue, if you will, or to try and prove my side. And I just knew it wasn't true. And I knew it wasn't true because for many years, I've been aware of my own narcissistic behaviors that I learned from watching my mother. I mean, how could it be any other way? Monkey see, monkey do. If it's all I see, I'm only going to do the same things that she does. Even if I have empathy behind them, those behaviors still impact other people. So it took me a long time to really unwind some of my own ugly personal behaviors. And I did that without fanfare, not like, oh, look at me, I'm changing, acknowledge me. No, I just tried to implement such things like making sure I don't dominate conversations on the phone with my friend, making sure that whenever I call that friend or whoever it is, that I'm not showing up and dumping on them. That, is this a good time? How are you? You know, it's not that I didn't care before, but I think I just had that bad habit. So now for at least a year and a half, I have actively implemented this particular practice into my phone calls with her. So I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I was guilty of not dominating conversations in the past, it is absolutely not true today. But guess what? People will continue to see you in the same framework that they always have, even if they're loving people. And so that's what prompted the letter to her. And so I wrote this letter and I said, you know, I've learned a lot about my CPTSD. I've learned a lot about how I relate to people, why it's difficult. It was a pretty long letter. It talked a little bit about that gaslighting and how, you know, I don't blame her for doing that, but I just want her to know that this is what people do when to make it easier on themselves. So that was really probably even the most negative part towards her, and it wasn't even that negative. And it was generally a very loving letter. It was coming from a place of, this is who I am, and this is where I'm healing, and this is where I'm coming from, and I really want you to understand me. And I never got a response. Not a response. Not an acknowledgement. Not, I'm so sorry for the things that you've had to endure. Nothing. So I'm at that point again where I have to, my personality decides that I have to make a decision about this friendship. I'm not like other people that can just let them just sit there and whatever, because, you know, they're busy, you know, taking kids to soccer practice and, you know, working on their other life. Well, this is my whole life. You know, healing this part of me, which is so gigantic, is an enormous part of my life. So I realized that I'm not going to have that friendship. And it was kind of an illusion for a long time anyway, because I wasn't really sharing the big things about myself and the things that I was going through and the healing that I was experiencing or whatever, because I couldn't share that with her. And so I made the mistake of thinking that if I share more and I give her more insight, she'll really understand. So once again, I find myself alone. I know that there has to be a purpose in this. I'm still here. I'm still breathing air, despite wanting to give up so many times. And I'm at that point where I'm done. I just want to go high on the mountain. I don't want to fight anymore for myself. I don't want to fight for a job. I don't want to fight landlords. I don't want to fight crooked people. I don't want to fight anything. I'm just at that point where I am done. But that doesn't work well with the world we live in. You can't be done. You can't just live on the planet and exist. You have to pay. You have to be an extrovert in an introverted world. But I'm rambling now. I'm certain of it. I won't apologize for that. I think that there's a lot of people that can relate. But I think really what this whole video was about was forgive yourself. When it comes to this pain, find a way to forgive yourself and stand exactly where you are. And be very, very careful with the people that you share that information with. they won't always understand. Most likely they won't. So that's really it. I welcome your comments on forgiveness. I want to dig deeper into that word. I really want to uncover the significance of that word and tell me what you think happened. It's not verbal ayahuasca. It doesn't just clean the slate. So that's all. Much love.